Welcome, Hazmat community, to this episode of the Hazmat Roundtable 2.0, the only interactive show that lands on the X and in the hot zone, where everybody has a seat at the table. I'm your co-host, I guess, tonight. I'm Kashik Nana with Bobby Salveson, Jay-Z, and Mike Monaco. Welcome, fellas.
Thank you. I was really hoping you had a senior moment and just forgot your name.
That would be so awesome.
True. This episode is brought to you by RespondentTrain.com. You can reach out to Responder Train at 765-524-4848. That's RespondentTraining.com. Intercontinental Training Fire Academy in Northwest Hazmat. That's it. I'm done.
Welcome. Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Oh my! What a day! What a week! What a month!
What a year!
What a year!
Holy shit!
What a goddamn!
You guys like this? Look at this. I hope she's watching.
You know she is.
Dude, I hope so.
She's been working out.
She's badass.
He's been working.
Love you, Doc.
We had a buddy of ours who was in one of her classes, and he was afraid to admit that he knew us because he was afraid of what she might do to him during the class.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so. I said, yeah, that was probably a good choice.
Well, we have two interesting incidents that happened, not only, I will say, nationally in the United States, but also one that was internationally. I guess we'll start with the national level one, right? Because that's a decently interesting one. I guess, Bob, you want to set it up?
Yeah. So first off, this comes from Jacksonville, Florida Fire Department, which you guys know, you may or may not. The very first hazmat team in the United States started in 1977. Jacksonville Fire Department by Captain Ron Gore.
Oh,
so these guys have.
Any relation to the suit?
Don't think so.
Okay, no, you never know.
Don't think so. But so they've done hazmat for a long time. They basically were the pioneers in a lot of trial and error stuff. I took one of those classes, several of those classes, and they tried a lot of crazy stuff back in the day. But anyway. This particular incident, I got this from a John McMuller, I hope I didn't butcher his name too bad, from Station 7, which Jacksonville has two hazmat stations. They have Station 7 and Station 21, kind of split the city in half. So I'm going to read the description so I don't screw this up too bad. And then we'll go over the pictures and kind of talk a little bit about what you may or may not have done. And it's some pretty cool stuff. But hazmat was dispatched to an NDA involving a semi-hauling hazmat on arrival of first two companies. They advised they had located a parked freight semi in a military warehouse. Now that right there would kind of, everybody like, ooh, that might be a little dangerous. Placards as flammable and corrosive were on the side of the trailer. The companies then advised that the semi was smoking from the back, but the doors were still shut. So let me just stop right there for a second. You pull up on the scene, and I'll show the pictures in just a second, and you see smoke coming from the trailer, first new engine company. What are they probably going to be thinking right off the bat?
Just a general
break fire, some kind of something like that. But I think what's important to get people to clue in on is the smoke, or is it smoke? The color of it.
Even before that, I think a lot of the companies that come out there, and again, I'm not saying that anybody's not thinking of this, is that let me save the tractor, let me drop the jacks, and let me drive disconnect the kingpin or the fifth wheel, whatever you want to call it, and get that tractor away. And I'm going to say, on the whole, that is a very poor idea, right? I mean, everything's insured, and you think you're saving the tractor, and yet at the same time, those jacks are not rated for the load that's in that container. So if you just have a regular box standard, truck, it may not, depending on how they loaded that thing, be able to hold it. But specifically talking about hazmat tanks, there's only really one, and for bonus material, what is that one? Write it into the group tell me what it is. There's only one that's actually rated for lifting while loaded. Everything else is do not disconnect that kingpin or the jack from that thing. And so the question comes is, does common sense say leave that tractor, and we say no, leave it in there? It's all part of the game.
I agree.
Yeah, because there's actually been 306s where they've tried to do that, and the jacks have punctured right through the bottom of the trailer.
Yeah, because they were trying to save the tractor.
Right.
Oh, I'm saving $100,000, but this product that's burning, and it's going to go anyway. So you just created an enormous problem.
Yeah, because at this point it's level and happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You make it unlevel and unhappy, it gets bad.
I think
We like happy.
number two is that these are always first responders, and a lot of times they don't have a lot of hazmat knowledge, and they want to do something even if it's wrong. They just want to do something, and the placards on the thing should just indicate that, hey, maybe we should slow down, maybe we should do some research before we just do something that's.
It was definitely, this vehicle was definitely placarded.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to share screen in just a
Okay.
second. And Jeff brings up a good point. There's certain things that we should do and shouldn't do, and that goes back to the whole API process. So those of you that aren't familiar with API, we want to analyze, plan, implement, and evaluate. And really, that doesn't just go for hazmat calls. That can go for anything. That can go for extrication, fire, EMS run, whatever have you. You can use that all the time. And I've said this many times on the show. When I was coming up as an engineer, for other departments, chauffeur or lieutenant, I had a chief tell me, say, hey kid, your size up should be, what do you got? What are you doing? What do you need? And if you say those three things over the air, you're going to paint a pretty decent picture for the incoming companies plus the chief that's coming in to start building, getting the building blocks ready for a successful outcome, hopefully. So without further ado, before I read the rest of this, let me go ahead and show these pictures so we're all kind of looking at the same thing, hopefully. Let's see, share screen. All right, is everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Placard. Okay, so this was the side of it. So you got a flammable placard and a corrosive placard. So with that
Wow.
means,
That's what they pulled up with.
that's what they pulled up with as far as placards.
Okay.
Awesome.
As far as placards.
Awesome.
Okay. Next picture. They had several drums of a peroxide in the back of the tractor. And then what they also ended up having is a fire in the very back corner right there, or mid corner, I guess that would be.
Oh, go back. Yeah, let me look at that for a second here.
So you guys look at that, I'll just finish reading the description. So they were asked if they had or could locate the driver, manifest, or any UN numbers while hazmat was still en route. The manifest was found with multiple pages of information, which, if you guys can ever get the manifest, that is huge. That is so huge, or at least the driver. Driver may not know a whole lot, but if you can get a hold of that manifest, so remember, the driver, he has to be able to, when he's sitting in the cab of the truck, it has to be with arm's reach, whether it's up above, the console in the center, or in the driver's door. He has to be able to get it within arm's reach. On-scene companies were then asked or suggested to secure the area, not to approach the trailer after confirming that it was an actual trailer, not a tractor. Good point, because a lot of people get the two confused, as Bobby was mentioned earlier, the difference between a tractor and the actual trailer. After confirming the actual trailer, not the tractor, that there was smoke emitting from it. When hazmat arrived, research was set up along with recon. Command was transferred to the hazmat chief, which that's something that brings up another issue, because unfortunately there's a lot of departments or a lot of chiefs that, I'm incident command, I'm in charge. Well, when you get somebody there that has a little bit more knowledge, let's say, especially specific knowledge as to, in this case, hazmat, that's a person who really should be in charge.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen all the time, though.
No.
And hopefully that chief, he'll take the advice of some senior hazmat person or some very knowledgeable hazmat person.
Right.
It always happened that way.
How does that work for you guys, Bobby, Mike, when you guys have a hazmat team? Does a hazmat battalion show up and then takes over, or how's that work?
I'm going to stay quiet and let Bob answer this one. We're probably better off.
So in our system, allegedly, if I was in a fire department in the Northeast, I would think that the hazmat battalion would be a direct consultant to the incident commander. So hazardous materials company would fit into that branch, and the hazmat battalion would fit into the command structure of that whole battalion. It's a consultant thing, but all too often the hazmat battalion is kind of ancillary. It's a weird thing, but we teach all the classes, so the guys that are in the incident command spot know us by name, and so they come to us and go, Bob, Mike, how are you? And they come, hey, let's talk to you directly, and they cut all the middlemen out, and it gets very uncomfortable. Much to our chagrin, we love it.
Not for me.
I love it.
I don't get uncomfortable.
But as far as I'm going to bypass your question for some, because I want to come back to your question. But one thing I'm keying in on, and it reminds me of something that happened maybe 7 or 8 years ago. If anybody wants to look this thing up, by all means, it was something that happened in British Columbia, Canada. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I remember there was an incident at a port where they had something eerily similar to this, where these Connex containers, these metal containers 20 feet by whatever they are, the intermodal shipping things, and they were shipping high concentration oxidizer in it. And what happened was they bounced the thing and a couple of drums opened up, and it wasn't a big deal because you have, let's say, a little bit of peroxide, 70%, whatever the hell it is, it spills out into the thing. The problem is, and as you can see from the picture right here, what are the walls and floor made up of?
Organic material.
Organics. Yep. It's wood. And so what happened was they had 70% oxidizer, 70% hydrogen peroxide spilled onto a organic plywood, and it started getting very angry and heating up and etc. And they lost like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff. This was like a multi-day operation where we actually got in touch with the chief of the fire department, just calling up and saying, hey, listen, give some information. What happened here? And this was ongoing. And the guy was all too happy to let us a little bit of information, but it is exactly what the pictures, what he sent to us was exactly like I'm seeing right now. That foam on the ground probably is not soap. That is probably the hydrogen peroxide going to work on the organic material in the wood, creating, could be anything. Could be hydrogen, could be flammables, it could be non-flammables. I don't know. I don't know if this. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just assumed that this was post-fire and that was foam. Is that not water and foam?
I don't know. What I'm saying is that could be a reaction. That could be something that's given off a flammable gas, and I don't know what that gas is, because what if this thing prior to this took motor oil, or took alkalines or ketones, or I don't know what those things are, or all those prior to. So,
or just residue on the bottom of people's feet after years of walking on pavements and gas stations and truck stops and loading and unloading and high-lows going in and out. The amount of stuff that could be on that floor.
That's they put it out with water. Yeah. So that is, from what I'm reading, that is the product.
That's off-gassing from whatever, and you said it was peroxide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So peroxide goes to your boo-boo, and it makes your boo-boo bubble. That means it's picking up dirt, which means it's reacting with something in the dirt. And dirt is the organic part of it, but everything in there is organic. Everything.
The whole thing's organic, except the metal rods.
Right. And when I get to the bottom of the description, I think it'll be a little bit clearer. But let's back up a little bit. So you pull up on this, your hazmat now. What is your metering package? What's your air monitoring package going to be? Well, first off, let's back up. What's your PPE?
Well, bunker gear.
Yeah, I would wear bunker gear, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So
I mean, especially seeing those placards on the sides.
Yep.
What it was, a flammable and a corrosive? Is that what it had on there?
Yep.
Yeah, so I would be starting off in bunker gear, and I would be letting my pH paper guide me as to what else I need to do.
Yep, so what they took in is with their entry kits, and from what I understand, this is a typical setup that they bring in quite often. They brought in the KIF, M8, M9, pH, a 6-gas, a tick, and a temp gun.
What's the
So they pretty much had everything come. I think they had, I'm not sure if, I don't want to name the brand, but I think they use a multi-gas with not only a PID, but I think it's set up for 6. I think it's an Altair, quite honestly.
Well, usually it's the standard 4, PID
4.
is the 5.
Yeah, and I think theirs is set up that they have a 6.
They have a Koch sensor in there?
What's that?
A Koch sensor, the dual?
I'm not sure. I'll have to find out.
No, I don't know.
I'll have to find that out. So after they did it, they rolled up the door, they cracked it open a little bit. They allowed the papers to do the monitoring, which that brings up a good point because most teams or most departments would just throw the door right up. Or you get an overzealous truck company, I don't know anybody on one of those, that would then cut those apart right away, right? They want to put the saw to work. And sometimes you don't want to do that because you're going to be introducing a lot of oxygen into something real quickly.
Was this a roll? I mean, it may not make a difference, but operationally, was it a roll-up gate or was it a double door?
I believe it was a roll-up. Yes, okay. It was a roll-up door. A roll-up door. So they just rolled it up just enough to crack it to let their papers do their thing, let their air monitor do their thing. And then afterwards, when they rolled up the door, they got a little bit of change, but the temp gun went to 130 degrees, which makes a little bit of sense because they had a fire, obviously, right? So they didn't freak out for that, thank God. And when they entered the trail, there was no red lights being hit on any of their entry meters. So they found a small fire behind the barrels that were there. So that's kind of interesting. The fire was behind the barrels, maybe not because of the barrels.
Well,
it was the wood on the side that was
burning. Yeah,
burning. It wasn't necessarily the barrels, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, what was burnt? I mean, I know. Listen, the fire marshals that are out there, it looks like it's electrical. But like, what was burnt?
It was termites.
Yeah, like with matches and stuff. Like, what was it?
So all 4 barrels were unmarked and empty.
All 4 barrels. Were the barrels hot?
The barrels were hot. But I think, that would come in, that would make sense because of the fire right behind them.
But they
And I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. When the barrels were pulled out, did they continue to be hot? Like, was it the heating of the barrel that charred and started the fire with it was contact with the wood, or was there a fire in the wood that heated the barrel?
Question came in that was very good, and I think it's in vein with what Mike's saying. Did the fire originate from inside?
Well, here comes the ending.
Because it looks like it came from the outside.
It does, doesn't it?
Well, is that where the wheels are?
Probably pretty close to the right rear wheel. Yep.
Maybe a bad brake.
Good guess. Come to find out that a mixed cargo was collected over the past few days, was meant to be taken out to waste for disposal. The day before, a small amount of MEK was collected and was being housed inside a plastic container of some sort that reacted, causing a fire behind the drums.
So it was a chemical reaction.
So it was incompatible. It sounds like incompatible with the container that caused a reaction and had a little fire right there. But that was a good call, Jeff, because that's pretty close to where those rear tandems are.
But it was, so what was the you said it was MEK that was packaged incorrectly?
Incorrect.
So what was the size of the packaging? What was it? Was it
55-gallon drums.
Oh, it was. But you,
Wow.
I thought you said that the barrels were unmarked and empty. That were.
Those were, yeah, the one that was back to that reacted was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I understand it, yeah.
Okay.
So, but from what I understand, they got there. What I liked about it is that they had their first arriving units didn't rush right in, didn't start going crazy like this is a tractor trailer fire. They held back because they saw the placards, which is great to get everybody to start thinking that way. And hey, you know what? It's not always just a fire. You know, we got to slow our roll a little bit and kind of think a little bit about what we're doing. And when they realized, looking at the placards, they called hazmat. Maybe hazmat was dispatched initially. I'm not really sure of that, but and then they were able to isolate it in an area and just work things methodically because the fire wasn't going anywhere. Obviously, there wasn't that much around it, even though it was a military type of place. So scene size up to me is everything. You're looking basically. I always looked at it this way: a tractor trailer or a semi with, or not a semi, but a garbage truck fire or anything like that. It's a bonfire in the middle of nowhere.
As long as it's in the middle of the nowhere.
As long as it's in the middle of nowhere, exactly. You can protect your exposures, but other than that, it's not really going anywhere. And if you start rushing right in, that's when you're going to make your problem even worse.
No, but I mean, like this thing from the still shot I'm looking at, you know, it's hard to. My piece of advice to those that are listening to me and even tolerating my voice at this point, if you're on entry, you know, you don't belong on the inside of this thing. All too often we're thinking like, I gotta go inside. You should be, you know, looking around the left side, the right side, the bottom side, the top side, the back side, the front side. You should be taking all this into account, talking to many people, looking at the drums in question as we're seeing on the screen here. Why is there foam? Why is there not foam? Did we use foam? If we didn't use foam, why is there foam on the ground?
What is that exactly?
Right.
What all? And you got to start talking it out. And like we're having this 4-person discussion, and it's actually a much more than that. We're having discussion with now almost 47 people right now, and people
Nice.
throwing their things up there. It is a conversation to be had. We have to have this conversation in order to figure out the next tactic. To think one person is an island unto its own is foolhardy.
Well, I mean, look at this picture. I mean, so this is the peroxide that's all over the gate and all over the asphalt, correct?
Yeah, and all over those drums, yeah.
And all over those drums. And
some of them are pulled in and some of them pushed out. You see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
and
a
I
good
mean,
catch. Good catch.
when you talk about, you know, peroxides and you talk about strong oxidizers, and you basically have fuel and oxidizer all over the place, all over that asphalt. Does that become an issue that has to be addressed? Do we wait for something to happen? Do we dilute it? How do we start to work that problem?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to dilute that though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to leave full strength peroxide on asphalt either.
No.
Sell it off to the hairdressers in the area.
Yeah,
Or
everyone
the
come get your
bomb
hair
makers.
bleached.
Any bomb makers, come on in.
Or anybody wanting to make methamphetamine, you know.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Straight from the tap.
So
Good
anyway,
stuff.
just a little, you know, one of those things that, and honestly, is the tractor placard correctly?
It depends on what the peroxide was, right? Because
You got a flannel?
What were those barrels that were at the back
I-
of the semi, or the front of semi? Actually, I mean, was it a mixed load?
Yeah, it was supposedly it was a mixed load, and those were supposed to be empty.
Well, I mean, the mech is definitely a flammable,
Right.
and the peroxide
is an oxidizer.
is, yeah, but it's also corrosive. So what's the primary placard?
Mhm.
That's something you got to look up. I don't know.
No, peroxide is not considered an oxidizer, I don't believe. It's a pH
I
of
think
neutral.
I think it's a 5.2. I think it's an organic oxidizer.
If it's an organic, a 5.2, I think all 5.2s have to be placarded no matter what. If it's just a regular hydrogen peroxide and non-organic peroxide, then you might have to hit those quantities. I don't know off the top of my head.
Hydrogen peroxide at a high enough level is a 5.2. I think it's 40%. Once it goes above 40%, it becomes a organic peroxide 5.2. Don't quote me on that, but hydrogen peroxide for the boo-boo versus hydrogen peroxide for the hair straightening is two different things, even though it's the same H2O2.
Organic?
Yeah.
And I think one is a 5.2 and one's a 5.1. I don't know about that. We'll have to look that up.
I don't know if
peroxide is a 5.2. It's a table 1 material.
What is it? Say that again.
Organic peroxide is a 5.2. It's a table 1 material.
Yeah, but what's hydrogen peroxide?
But hydrogen peroxide is not an organic in and of itself. So that's why I'm pushing back a little. I don't know if it would be ever considered an organic if it's not an organic compound.
I love it.
We're going to put this out to the group. You guys look it up while we talk about the next thing. Tell me if hydrogen peroxide, depending on concentration, is a 5.1 oxidizer or a 5.2 oxidizer, or is it a
like high strength? Yeah, high strength peroxide might be a table 1 where any of it has to be done, but listen, I'm really taking a guess here just based on chemistry, that it wouldn't be classified as an organic.
Shoot from the hip.
And let me just mention one thing. Did you see how quick Jay-Z was able to find that information out from?
Where did you find that information?
Where did you get that, Jay-Z?
I have
Where's
no
that
idea.
from?
I have no idea where I got it.
Holy
Look
cow!
at that. It's a field guide. Oh my gosh.
I have no idea. It just came to me, and
I'm selling my new book. It's the NIOSH.
Where's my NIOSH at?
Yeah, you got to get your library going.
And you know what the sad thing is that
I've got a die grinder.
Within arm's reach. It is arm's reach from my table here, and I could pick any one of these books here. But no, I picked the NIOSH. Right after I picked the Jay-Z book.
That's it. All right.
All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, let me get this one queued up. All right, so we're going to go to sharing again. Bear with me, folks. That ain't it.
I certainly hope something fun pops up.
Shit,
All right.
disappeared. Stand by. Talk amongst yourselves. I gotta bring it back up.
We'll talk about something like fondue.
Ooh, or fondants.
A fun. 50% is 4.5. Getting some information back here. It's inorganic no matter what. I would disagree with that.
That it's inorganic no matter what?
Yeah,
it contains no carbon.
I understand, but not all organics are considered have carbons. Like you have acids. Certain acids are organic, though they have no carbons.
Which one?
Yes, that's true. I will find them for you and give them to you. But I promise you that is a snappy pictures.
How about that? Right,
Trump is vaporizing in front of our eyes.
Oh my!
Good thing this is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So this was shared several times. I believe this is in Chile. Not Chile where you guys are, because I think we got like 75 degrees here. By the way, I just want to make you mention our old co-host Jason Rogers.
Who?
Yeah, that guy. Since he's taken leave in the southeast area, we've had more freaking hurricanes and storms ever since he's come into this region. And I told him today, please just move back to Indiana. We've had enough of this crap. So this happened in Chile, and it's a nitric acid. It's a truck carrying nitric acid that rolled over. And actually, if you look at this picture, you can see, if you can see the cursor on what I'm showing you or not. but you can see the fumes coming off of it right here.
The dreaded orange
You
cloud.
see it.
The dreaded orange cloud. All right, so I'm going to play this just a little bit because they got a pretty cool video. And what they also use, and this goes back to the discussion we had, was it last month or the month before, we were talking about drones and the way they use the drone system. First off, look and see how far back their team was set up. And the little blue things walking down the middle of the road, I believe that's their entry team. So that's a hell of a hike that they had to take.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right?
Air management's important in this one.
Wow.
So
Is that those little blue things going down the white line? The team?
That's a team.
Huh. Wow.
That's a hell of a hump.
Looks like only about 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll let this play a little bit.
They should have spaced out. It could look like the beginning of Reservoir Dogs.
Good pull. Yep, that was them. So look at this.
Oh shit. Dude, they are taking it in the face. That's hard.
They really are.
That's hardcore.
So let me back up just a little bit. Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's just crazy.
I'm just curious on, it shows them working in there. It shows them working out of there, damming and diking, and them walking that. What is the air management on like this? And there's nobody else around. It's
yeah.
And what are they?
What's their plan for fast?
What is that they're diking and damming? What does that look like to you guys? Especially right here.
Fuel.
Yeah.
It's like oil, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like oil. Because I had to look this up because fuming nitric acid is something that you hear about in folklore, but what is it? And
what makes it fume?
All right, so this is, again, I'm reading off miscellaneous different things, but fuming nitric acid is 84% nitric acid, 13% dinitrogen tetroxide, and a little bit of water. And the dinitrogen tetroxide is a rocket fuel.
Okay.
Which is good, just in case you need to launch a rocket. But what they do is they throw this into their inhibiting agent is hydrofluoric acid. And this scorches the steel drum within an inch of its life and causes a nice an alloy of a metal fluoride, preventing the nitric acid from actually attacking the steel. So when this thing comes out, what happens is they dissolve nitrogen dioxide into the nitric acid, and they actually create this seltzer bottle, if you would, right? So you have the water and the carbon dioxide in there. So they have nitric acid and this nitrogen dioxide dissolved in this bottle. And when you pop the top, it all comes out. And yet this is an orange, fluffy little goodness that you see here on this page here. And when you have something that has exponential, if not absolute gaseous qualities, it is going to be a skin hazard. And so therefore you need a level A rig, not to mention the nitric acid period. Me and Mike have this great video of a guy that uses nitrile gloves, and he goes to put it on the nitric acid 70% plus, and the gloves go on fire.
Yeah. You got to be really careful with what you're playing with.
Yeah. Do your compatibility charts on that one.
Well, you know, Bobby, I teach this a lot. A lot of people do compatibility charts for the suit, but they forget to do the gloves.
Yep.
And
and the boots.
And the boots too. You know, although we have no other boot than to use our Tinglies, but we have several different types of gloves that we could use and put an overglove on in case we're dealing with something that's not going to be compatible.
That's a good question. So, all right, so nitrile gloves, I will say, is probably the vast 90% of the time we put on nitrile gloves. What would you use? Again, what would you use for this type of thing? For us, it's butyl. Right? Butyl gloves, the black gloves, are the acid choice for us, and that's.
Yep.
But again, What's that?
Butyl or Viton. What's funny is if you look at the chemical compatibility chart for gloves, and you look at the normal ones we use, which is nitrile, the butyl or the Vitons. What's good for butyl is bad for nitrile, and what's good for nitrile are bad for butyl or Vitons. It's kind of interesting. So you can kind of keep your glove thing really tight, but you have to do that research, and a lot of times we fail to do that, and it's really important.
I put them both on. Money's no object to me. I'm just a very fancy man.
With fire gloves over everything to smother whatever reaction happens under the skin.
And then oven mitts and cryogenics, just so I can get that.
Big blue cryogenic glove.
I try to throw my golf glove over top of that, quite honestly, but it doesn't
just
work
keep
out
them tight.
You know.
So it certainly doesn't help your golfing.
No, not lately. But something too, some of these suits that you can't change out your types of gloves. You're going to have to wear glove over glove over glove. And how many people actually train in that aspect as far as doing little minuscule things?
I don't even know, like with our level A gloves, how we would do a glove over glove over glove technique. Like by the time we're done, you got so much already. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, don't quote me on this, but I think NFPA recommends that you actually have 4 gloves in your suit, which is kind of crazy for level A anyways. One is the sweat glove, 2 is it used to be the silver shield or the inner glove, and then your outer glove, and then you have to have the Kevlar outer glove for puncture protection. Technically, don't quote me on it, but I think that's what they require.
I don't know if that's the silver shield. I think is gone now.
Yeah.
It's not called. Some of them don't call it silver shield, but they still have that inner lining glove. I don't know what.
Because they have one gloves now. They have a single glove that takes care of most of the chemicals, and then you have the outer.
The newer suits
Kevlar.
are using a nitrile inner, the suit glove, and then a Kevlar outer, and that's the end of it, because that's where they're getting certified. And Mike might know better than me. It's that the newer standard is saying that you should need less in order to put you, like for example, the tape. You don't need tape anymore. Like that is not part of the suit.
If Baxter was on here, she'd yell at you right now for being like, you never needed tape. You should have never needed it.
I know,
you should never do it.
Just don't even bring it up.
So we've got a thermal imaging bird's eye view on this. I'm going to take a guess and clearly say that this is the nitric acid reacting with the pavement is giving us our heat signature.
Yeah, for sure. But again, here's a great view, from a drone. I mean, you can get. We never, before I retired, we had one. The bomb team used it. We never got a chance to use it that much, but I know a lot of teams use it, like Pulaski in southern Manatee County and whatnot. But if you have access to a drone, you can see it right here. It's great information you get without putting your team in harm's way.
That's great stuff.
Yeah, because you get a lot, and you actually, looking down at the container, you can clearly see that there is some kind of heat signature coming from the container. There is something hot happening inside the vessel.
And it's more to the right. It's more to the top of it. You can see a lot of information. That's great stuff.
I'm just going to let this play. It's only 40 seconds. I'm going to let this play through so everybody can see it in case you're just joining us. But yeah, this is it's pretty nasty stuff they were dealing with. That's a hell of a run.
Mm-hmm.
So we're there. Well, we're not there, but if we're there, what are we doing? Like, what do you think the very first thing? All right, so they damned and diked, but then we got to do something. Are we neutralizing what's on the asphalt? Are we making entry into that container? Are we like?
No, in that location where we are right there in the middle of the desert, I'm going to sit back. The diesel, not even concerned. Let it roll.
Okay, so let's say it's in an area now that it is concerned. Like what I mean,
It's on the Throgs Neck Bridge.
well, that
Let
should
it
go
go
in the water.
because I really don't really. Oh no, I shouldn't say that.
It'll help clean up. It'll help clean up that area.
Well, the good thing, like Bobby was saying, I think I would be doing the same thing. I might let us do his thing. If you look at that one picture, you can see they're set up perfectly. The wind direction is perfect. I think I probably just would have been going in to do myself, maybe just a recon.
Recon, yep.
See what I'm doing, but I give it to these guys, man. They're doing some hell of a work, you know.
They're deep into it, for
A lot
sure.
of confidence.
Deep into it. That's a lot to do for the distance they traveled, the work they have to do, and doing it by themselves. I mean, wow, that's that's impressive.
All right, so if this was more of a residential area, what could you do? I would need to know the miscibility or at least the solubility of the thing, and I would set up some large deck guns. I don't know what it is, but that would be one of the things in my arsenal, saying I'm going to drop it to the ground. Fuming, you want to drop to the ground, and I'll deal with the nitric acid on the ground.
Yeah, and neutralize the runoff somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to be one of those guys to say, well, if I have a chlorine cloud, I'm just going to drop it. The solubility of chlorine is 0.3. That's a stupid idea. The solubility of nitric, I don't know what it is. If it's soluble or miscible, then that is absolutely. I'll throw 6 towel ladders up and drop water on this thing.
We're getting miscible on the YouTube.
Great. Then I will be. Water carriages, fog lines will absolutely be playing into my operation. I will drive, even in level A, I will drive a towel ladder up there and put the towel ladder up to drop water on, because that makes my job that much easier. I'm a big advocate of saying, hey, listen, if you can't make, we have a chlorine leak, it's a level A job, I can put the right amount of fans behind me and make it a flip-flops and shorts job. So with the right amount of water, I can turn this into something that's not so cool.
Cool. All right.
I think it's interesting how they transported that. It looks like they just put that thing in a.
You just throw it in Joe's backup.
Yeah, they didn't strap it down or nothing. Just,
Well, these are all South American runs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're regulations, yeah. Because, dude, that channel, that Octa Hazmat, they got the craziest shit going on down there.
Stuff.
I have a feeling that they've got, like, wherever they're filming this stuff, the regulations are not nearly as tight as some other countries. Because they definitely, whenever I see them post something, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
Good stuff.
Truth.
It's like when the gasoline tanker turns over and everyone's going over there with their cups and they're taking the gasoline.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yep.
No, there's no hot zone. It's just a free for all.
All right. Mr. Kashignano, take us out.
That's it for another episode of the Hazmat Guys Roundtable 2.0. We'll see you next Tuesday, actually a month. The first Tuesday of December. Obviously, we had to move this one. Thank you all for attending. Again, we'd like to thank our sponsors. First, lost it. They already blew it. I told you I shouldn't have done this.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Ron Huffman at ResponderTraining.com, Intercontinental Training Fire Academy in Northwest Hazmat.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next month.
Next month.
Bye.